Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi folks, welcome back. And those that are new, welcome. This is going to be a multi-part series because I think it's worth covering in several parts rather than one long video. This is the video, some of it that has been released so far in Tucker Carlson last night, concerning January 6th. Now, things aren't always what they seem. Does it exonerate everybody that was arrested? No, but the vast majority. And none of this video was given to defense attorneys for people that have been held and pled guilty and those that are still awaiting trial 2 years later. The individuals that caused the damage should go to jail and pay a fine, but the rest of them looks like they were let in by Capitol Police. Let's listen and we'll look at some video.
Republican Speaker's office, we gained access to thousands of hours of surveillance video that help answer that question. The January 6th committee had access to this very same tape and watched much of it. But as we're about to show you, committee members lied about what they saw and then hid the evidence from the public as well as from January 6th criminal defendants and their lawyers. That is unforgivable. Whatever you think of Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he rectified that crime, and we are grateful that he did. Before we show you the tape, a few words on the process. Our producers had unfettered access to the Capitol surveillance video. Neither the Speaker's office nor our bosses at Fox News interfered in any way with our investigation. Of the 40,000 or so hours of tape, most of it turned out to be irrelevant. Static shots of empty rooms, in some cases far from the Capitol itself. To find relevant videotape, our producers were given use of Capitol computers with advanced mapping software. That made it easy to find what we were looking for. What we didn't have was access to facial recognition software, and that was significant. For more than 2 years, we have wondered why some in the crowd that day who seemed to be inciting violence were never indicted for it. We assumed these were federal agents of some sort. We still assume that. And in fact, there were many examples of behavior we saw in those tapes that didn't seem to make sense.
That's true. Now let's get to some of the video here. We had enough of the background, I think. Let's get to the video. Now this is going to be about Ashley Babbitt, then we'll get to the video.
Fortunately, is the shooting of Ashley Babbitt. From the evidence we have, the publicly available evidence, it seems clear that Babbitt was murdered by a Capitol Hill police officer called Michael Byrd. Ashley Babbitt was unarmed. She was shorter in stature than average. She posed no conceivable threat to anyone.
No, she used the word murdered.
Anyone. But beyond that, we can only speculate about what happened. There were no security cameras near the Speaker's lobby where Ashley Babbitt was killed. And one more thing. Virtually no one in Washington, Republican or Democrat, certainly not in the news media, wanted to see this tape released tonight. That's why it's remained hidden for more than 2 years. In recent weeks, the usual hyenas in Congress and on cable news have been howling about we are putting lives at risk by showing this tape to the public.
Now let's look at some of the video.
You've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th.
Just look at the guy. Picks up the podium that somebody threw on the ground. These guys didn't want to destroy the Capitol at all. You notice there's not one piece of graffiti. Not one.
More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does...
Now, this is supposedly the insurrectionists. If this was a BLM protester, Antifa, do you think all those priceless paintings hanging on the wall would have stayed there? They would have sliced them into pieces. They would have put graffiti all over them, and all the statues in the Capitol here would have been smashed to pieces. Makes you wonder.
Not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact...
Now watch. Look at the Capitol Police standing there as they wander in. And in fact, you're going to see a lot of them. Basically, they're tour guides.
It demolishes that claim. And that's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it. By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington. The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th.
Now, I want to say those guys smashing through the window and causing damage should pay a fine and should receive jail time. The ones that were let in, as you can see here, just wandering in, and there you see the QAnon shaman there with his horns in the middle. They just let them in. They shouldn't go to jail. Maybe a simple trespass ticket, $200 fine. That's about it.
Is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours. The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans.
Yes, and those ones that caused damage should go to jail and pay restitution for repairs.
They committed vandalism. You've seen their pictures again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful. They were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists. They were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They take cheerful selfies and they smile.
Does this look like insurrectionists want to take over the government? There's the office of the Secretary of the Senate. They're just taking photos like tourists. He's right. And they were all let in by Capitol Police. But you're going to see worse.
They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol. They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman.
Now, here's the so-called QAnon shaman. He's taking photos. Now, remember, this guy served his country in the U.S. Navy. So I give him a little bit of slack for being a veteran. Is he the nut bar they make him out to be? Let's see.
Outside the Senate chamber. These are not rioters. These are people who wandered over from a political rally.
We will not let them silence your voices.
After the rally, they walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, where organizers had secured a federal permit to hold a legal rally on the grounds of the Capitol.
Now, how many legal permits did BLM or Antifa have to riot? Or even a protest? The answer is zero.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Once at the Capitol building, things began to get chaotic. Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the door.
Now, see him kicking in the door and smashing the windows? Those guys should go to jail. I have no problem. Not for 5, 10, 15 years. But what would happen if that was a business? And by the way, how many BLM protesters that smashed and burned down businesses went to jail for destroying property? You can count them on one hand. Equal justice under the law.
And many hundreds of others just walked in.
We're going to make that the story.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon shaman.
The so-called QAnon shaman. QAnon shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive.
Now they're saying, well, he pled guilty. He pled guilty because he was facing 15, 20 years. I mean, I'm sure his lawyer said to him, they want your blood. You better take the deal, the 4 years. But here's the thing. His lawyer never got any of his videos for his defense, which is against the law.
What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police...
Look at the Capitol Police walking around with him. Isn't that interesting?
Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him.
Now, here it is here. That door that's blurred out is the entrance to the Senate chambers, one of the most sacred government chambers in the world. And the Capitol Police are walking around with a QAnon shaman, letting him into the Senate chambers, but the door is locked. Checked by Capitol Police.
Acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within
Look at all the Capitol Police there, doing nothing.
touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us into the building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th, the indisputable facts recorded on video, some of which has never
Just standing there shooting the breeze with them, probably asking where to go, giving them directions.
before been seen, with the depiction of Jacob Chansley that you've seen in the media for more than 2 years. He's a terrorist, they said. He should be killed.
Shoot him. Shoot him. Like, you burst into the United States, if he was dressed
Scumbag. What if somebody said that about BLM protesters or Antifa? You're a piece of garbage.
like bin Laden, would you have shot him?
Shoot him! Shoot him! It makes you wonder, who are the violent extremists here? Not Jacob Chansley, and the video proves that. But you would never have known from the media coverage.
Now, I saw a video where one of the security guards asked the QAnon shaman, please don't destroy the chamber. And they said, oh, no, we wouldn't do that. This is sacrosanct, this place. You notice no vandalism except for the windows and the doors. None. Minor paper shuffling, but zero, I repeat, zero graffiti, and also zero weapons. The only one armed with guns were the Capitol Police and maybe some feds that infiltrated the crowd. Not one firearm was brought in by the so-called insurrectionists.
The people sitting in the chairs need to be sitting in a jail cell.
Chansley is in a jail cell. He's been there for months. If he was in fact committing such a grave crime, why didn't the officers who were standing right next to him place him under arrest? Until now, no one could even prove that even happened. But it did. We're going to digest this surveillance video from the U.S. Capitol on January 6th in pieces tonight. We're going to show you more in just
Now, we're going to check out some more coverage here. This is only part one of a multi-part series.
Well, it's very sad because obviously you can see from the demeanor of the police officers and from his own demeanor that he was harmless, that they regarded him as harmless. You saw him walk past about 9 other police officers. They didn't even give him, a look, even though he was dressed so garishly. He's obviously a performance artist and was not posing any threat to anybody. You can see where they help him open a door to go in to the Senate chamber. And so why on earth was that footage not used as exculpatory evidence in his trial?
That's exactly right. Whether you agree with the guy or not, it's due process under the law. His defense attorney should have had access to these videos and the many other people that were arrested that are still sitting in jail without trial yet and uncharged some of them. It's amazing to me. Why hasn't the Supreme Court stepped in and say either cut these people loose or put them on trial? No bail. It's ridiculous. Supreme Court, grow some balls. He should be released just because of the fact they hid evidence. Hiding evidence from the prosecution's side is against how many federal, state, and local laws?
Man is spending almost 4 years in jail, a naval veteran, aged 33 years old, and he's just puzzled about it. You can see in that jailhouse interview that you played that he he says his regret is that he thought because the police officers were showing him around that it was okay, that what he was doing was appropriate. And you can see the way Those people were walking through the Capitol, as you say, you know, they are walking meekly, politely, queuing, very peaceable, that they don't mean any harm. They are treating the Capitol with reverence.
Again, I'll say, see the people that broke the window? They should go to jail. No question. But 99% of these people did nothing wrong except walk through a door.
That doesn't excuse the others, the minority of the protesters who did break windows and fight police and injure police and cause mayhem. But the people who are now being picked up and some of them have been jailed without trial for months, even years on end, did not commit violence. They walked through open doors. They were escorted by police. They felt that this was okay.
Again, I'll say there's the rotunda. Those pictures, if that was BLM or Antifa, would have been spray painted all over, cut into pieces. All the statues would have been smashed. Not one painting, priceless paintings that can't be replaced, or statues were damaged. Think about that.
And I think Jacob Chansley is a classic example of that.
Including the President of the United States, that the mob murdered police officers. That is a lie. But the death of Officer Brian Sicknick is the pretext they used to tell that lie. So what happened to Officer Brian Sicknick?
Well, we're going to find out in the next part. So we're going to end this video now. This is part one of a multi-part series concerning the release of the January 6th footage that Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, gave to Tucker Carlson and his production crew. I think this was covered fairly so far. What do you think? Look for other parts that coming up in the future. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.